Hello, everyone. I'm Melvin Taylor.
And I'm Kara Ashbeck.
And welcome to Bold Life.
Kirsten Hagland is out this week traveling, so we're filling in. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bold Life is brought to you by Independent Women's Forum, a nonprofit dedicated to developing and advancing policies that aren't just well-intended, but actually enhance people's freedoms, choices, and opportunities.
On today's show, we'll be covering Oscar predictions, spring cleaning, and so much more.
Before we get into our first guest, remember, we'll be taking your questions live during the show, so make sure to leave your comments on Facebook and Twitter and share the show as well. Please do that.
For our first segment, let's welcome Emily Gaudette from Newsweek and Tanya Christian from Essence. Welcome to you both.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
Good.
That's great. So the Oscars are this weekend on Sunday. Yes. We're getting pumped. Tanya, can you tell us which category are you most excited for?
I think I'm most excited for Best Picture.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I wonder if it's going to be like a shakeup. Like there's, of course, predictions, and I wonder if Get Out will actually come through.
Interesting.
I mean, it seems like that's a bold pick for the Oscars.
Yeah.
What do you think, Emily?
Oh, as far as Best Picture, yeah, the Get Out would be an upset. It would be amazing. I'm personally pulling for Call Me By Your Name. That was the only film in the list that just absolutely knocked me off my feet. I was thinking about it for days afterward, and to me, that's my personal test of Best Picture, where it's like you can't forget about it.
Now, could you just tell me a little bit? I had a discussion with my friend who said that he absolutely loved Call Me By Your Name as well, and unfortunately, I'm going to see it tomorrow with my girlfriend. So, can you just tell me, what did you love so much about it?
I had never seen a film that captured the feeling of having a crush. The protagonist is this young, possibly overeducated, he's a really smart kid, he's an academic, his father's a professor, and he meets this slightly older man played by Armie Hammer, who is, unforgettably handsome.
Armie's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and it's from his point of view, and Timothée Chalamet, this young newcomer, is just, he's infectious. You feel like you are connected to his emotions watching him. That's what just blew me away.
Awesome. I got to get my ticket to go see it.
I need to see most of these movies. I've seen most of them.
It's okay, you are not alone. So now, for lead actor, who do you guys think is going to take that one away?
Who do I think is going to take it?
Going to take it away?
I think Gary Oldman, Darkest Hour. I mean, a lot of people are predicting, and it was a very good portrayal, so I do think that he's going to take it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what about you?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I'd be a little disappointed.
Okay.
Personally, I feel like he was hiding behind all the makeup, but like I said, Chalamet is just the star to me. I hope he takes it.
Okay.
So what about in the lead actress category? Any picks?
I don't know. I had some problems with Ebbing, Missouri, but I thought Frances McDormand was just a tour de force. You can't take your eyes off her. So I would love to see her win. She's had such an incredible, unusual career. This would be a great time to win the crown.
And I would have to agree. Yeah. I mean, her portrayal was just amazing. And I'm such a Dateline fan. it's like this is when Dateline goes so wrong. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think she'll take it.
I'm going to throw in my one pick for this one. I got to see Tanya for New Year's Day, and I absolutely I fell in love with Margot Robbie even more than I already am. She just absolutely killed it to me. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. She's going to be my first one, but we'll see. But you can go
That's actually how I feel about the, what's her mother?
Oh, yes.
Oh, Allison Janney.
Allison
Yes.
Janney,
Oh my
totally
goodness.
killed it in
The
that
bird,
role. She
yeah.
was so good.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah, that was so crazy.
Wonderful.
I loved the little reel at the end too, and they're showing she actually
actually
did.
had
I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, she's great.
So the last category, I think we'll ask about Best Director. Any thoughts or picks there?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just such a fan of Get Out, I'll be honest. So I just feel like Jordan Peele came out with a storyline that was so different. And yeah, that's my pick.
Mine's Guillermo del Toro. I've loved him since I was a kid. He's just been cranking out movies no other director does what he does, and he's never won. So I personally think it's beyond his time.
Now, I do want to ask this question. Who do you guys think got snubbed this year that should have been nominated for something?
Oh, that's a good question.
I love the Florida Project. I just thought it was a great ensemble cast. It was a great look at low-income people in Florida. I just felt like I hadn't seen that story before. And across the board, it just really didn't get the nods that I thought it could have earned.
I don't know if I felt like anyone got snubbed for Best Picture.
Okay. Or we can say any category in general.
Oh, just any
Not just limited to
category.
Best Picture, yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
I was wondering, I feel like a lot of people were saying Wonder Woman got snubbed, but I also kind of felt like it's a superhero movie. I don't know, just because it was so popular, should it have gotten more attention than it did?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a conversation I've had with a few of my friends actually, where, say for example, a lot of us have seen Black Panther. I've seen it 3 times, and a lot of my friends are like, "Oh my goodness, it's gonna be nominated for an Oscar," and I'm like, "Guys, I would love it if it was." However, that's like a tall task for it. You do that maybe for costume design,
I was
definitely.
going to say that.
Or
Definitely.
cinematography or score.
Or Michael B.
Sure.
Jordan. I mean,
Or you know what?
I think
Michael
he
B.
was
Jordan.
the standout for acting. Like,
Yeah. My girlfriend turned and was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "You know what? I'm saying that in my head because I'm out loud." So yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of that. Yeah. Like my girlfriend was a little too excited.
I was like, oh, okay. Like, I gotta go to the gym a little bit more. So let me ask this. What was the most surprising nomination for you guys or something that you didn't expect?
The Boss Baby as an animated film was, it was really great. It was better than you think it would be, but I thought there were more experimental animated films that would have looked good in that category. I just thought that one made me laugh when that came out.
Denzel's for lead actor. I was kind of surprised about that. I mean, it's really good, but I just felt like the reception of the movie wasn't that great.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I can understand that. And then one more question. What movies are you guys, you can talk about as many as you want. What movies are you excited for that are coming out this year in 2018? Is there anything else that's coming up that you're like, you know what? I can't wait to go see this.
Wrinkle in Time, Ava DuVernay. And that's not even the kind of movie that I would typically watch. But I mean, the trailer looks amazing. It's Ava DuVernay, who's amazing. So I'm excited for that one.
I was surprised when I was watching the trailer for it. There are just like so many people in that movie.
Yes.
I mean, it's a
Yes.
classic book, so
Yeah.
they would totally get everybody they could. But at first I was like, what is this thing? It has like everybody and their brothers in it.
Right.
I'm a nerd. I'm with Marvel all the way. So,
Yes.
There
we go.
I've been waiting for Infinity War since I think I saw the first Iron Man on a date in high school. This is my
Really?
entire adult life that I've been watching the MCU.
You've grown up with it.
Yeah. So, that's going to be the big
So I
one.
will ask, before I ask you which movie you're looking out for.
Oh, no.
Did you see that it got pushed up a week?
Yes, isn't
Yes.
that wild?
Today? Yes, that is. I was so, me and my friends in our group chat was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Yeah, which movie are you most excited for?
This is a bad question to ask me because I
okay.
think I see
No worries.
one movie a year in the theater every year, and it's usually the Star Wars movie at the end of the year.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'll see the Star Wars movie this year. If there's
awesome.
another one.
So there is, you got
There's one.
Solo coming out
One.
this year, so that will definitely be great.
And you?
And aside from Infinity War or aside from Solo, because I'm a huge Donald Glover fan, I really love Deadpool. I really want to see that.
Oh, is there-
when it
there's
comes
a second
out.
one
There's
coming
a
out?
second
Okay.
one that is coming out, and I'm super excited for it. So yeah, and I think after that, do we have anything? So yeah, guys, thank you so very much for coming on the show.
Thank
today.
you.
We really appreciate it. Emily Gaudette from Newsweek and Tanya Christian from Essence. Thank you guys again. Thank you. Please
Thanks for
definitely
coming.
come back some more so we can talk about Infinity War and A Wrinkle in Time.
Okay.
Definitely.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks.
so
Thanks, guys.
in the meantime, we've got a few comments. Carrie Sheffield says, yes, Oscar for Gary Oldman for Winston Churchill, that it was an amazing film. So
Yeah, I heard Dunkirk was fantastic. It's one of
Yeah.
those that I'm like, that's definitely on my need to rent list when
Oh,
it
for
comes
sure.
out. That's
for sure.
high.
So let's see what else we have here. Let's continue our Oscar discussion with Bustle's movie editor, Rachel Simon. Welcome, Rachel.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing today?
Coming.
Pretty good. Just staying dry. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know
out
it's
there.
terrible here.
oh, too much.
So it seems like we're finally getting to see some more women recognized for their work, not just in front of the camera, but also behind. And
Definitely.
it's kind of interesting. I feel like a lot of people either are totally championing women or on the other side, it's like, oh, why are you making such a big fuss about it? And I know Bustle, you came on a couple of weeks ago and talked about your initiatives, but maybe just kind of give our audience a little bit of an overview of like, why is it so important that we even care about women being involved behind the scenes and not just, you know, being actresses?
For sure. Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's just something that we should care about no matter what. Like, whatever's happening in the culture, putting that aside, of course we should want there to be gender equality in all aspects of filmmaking and in every industry. But I think especially this year, this isn't the first year where actually there are several female-led movies that are in contention, starring women, but also several directed or written by women that are also in contention. And that's huge because in most years, the movies nominated for Oscars, which are representative of the movies Hollywood makes overall, are extremely male-dominated. And possibly for the first time, we might actually get to see some real representation, which is very exciting.
Now, how crazy is it that Greta Gerwig would only be the second woman to win Best Director?
It is crazy, yeah.
That's insane when I think about that.
It is, especially there have been so many talented women. And as you mentioned, the initiative we did at Bustle, one of the main reasons we did that was to honor women behind the scenes, to show that there are these incredible women making movies, that people think of the industry as very male dominated. And in some ways that's true. There are more men working in Hollywood. But there are so many talented women making movies that have been directing them and writing them and producing them, et cetera. And while Greta Gerwig absolutely deserves her nomination, and I'm rooting for her, she's far from the first woman, female director to deserve that. And it's just a shame that she's the only one in a while that's gotten that opportunity.
I mean, it's crazy that Catherine Bigelow was the first one to win, like, dead stop period. And that was only a few years ago. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it's taken that long.
It has been. It really is crazy. And especially this year was so exciting that, Greta was the one everyone's talking about for good reason, but she wasn't even the only one that was a possibility. Dee Rees for Mudbound, she was nominated for Best Screenplay, which is great and well-deserved, but she was a potential contender for Best Director. So was Patty Jenkins for Wonder Woman. I mean, there were several this year, which is rare and something hopefully that'll continue in future years.
Yeah, I was going to say, we can actually hop into a little bit of that Bustle article with these Oscar-nominated 2018 movies have women behind the lens and making history. You just talked a little bit about Dee Rees with Mudbound, and then you have Liz Hannah with The Post. You have Vanessa Taylor with The Shape of Water. Like you said, you have a lot of women that are out here doing these things, but why is it that you think it's taken so long for them to be recognized, in a sense, as what they are today now?
Well, so much of it has to do with the people there to open the doors for them. And as I said, and as you know, Hollywood is a historically male-dominated industry where the highest executives and the people getting those people through the door were mostly men. And that is starting to change. You have women behind some of the biggest movies and studios out right now. Kathleen Kennedy with Lucasfilm and Star Wars and all Disney things. You have so many others that I can't even name right now. There's a lot of them. But they're the ones who are actually helping other women get their foot in the door. You look at Ava DuVernay helping women out. Greta Gerwig's already, the stars of her movie like Saoirse Ronan and Beanie Feldstein, they've already talked about how Greta has inspired them to direct. And it's things like that where you just see the success of one woman who says, hey, I'm going to try to give this to someone else. That's happening now, and allowing more women into the room.
Yeah, and I find it really interesting talking about, just women films and kind of creating a pipeline, because you see that so much of it is just driven by reviews or by the kinds of things that they're getting nominated for, or even just like the box office. And Lady Bird seems like a really kind of groundbreaking example of, there was the highest rated film on Rotten Tomatoes ever, and
which is
really,
so huge.
It is, yeah.
Amazing.
of all of them. So it's kind of like, well, are we finally going to see that it's not just a tokenism thing? It's actually like, hey, women can really produce at the box office, and
Definitely.
there's like, we should be making more of these films because it can be just really successful.
Oh, absolutely. And it shouldn't even have taken this long because there have been other examples of that in the past. Plenty of female-led movies and movies directed by women have done well. But it's just, for some reason now, it's happening. People are getting it, and that's better late than never. So I'm glad it's happening. And if it encourages more women to get into directing and filmmaking and more female-led movies and female-made movies to, be seen by audiences, that's amazing. It is just a shame that it's taken this long when it's not been for a lack of women trying.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Rachel, which woman-led or created movie got snubbed this year that you believe should have been nominated for something?
Like many people, I wish Wonder Woman had been more in contention.
Yeah, I'm not
it was
gonna lie.
so good.
I know. It was
Yeah.
a tough one to really leave out.
That one was great. Mudbound, like I mentioned before, Dee Rees was nominated for screenplay, and that also got a Best Original Song nomination and Best Supporting Actress nomination. But I think that one is also one that potentially could have made the list of Best Picture nominees. That really, especially as a debut from Dee Rees, is really phenomenal that she did that. So those are the two for me, at least, that I would have liked to see sneak in there.
Yeah.
Do you have any picks for any of these women who have been nominated for kind of behind the scenes roles that you think are actually going to win it?
I mean, I don't think Greta Gerwig will win Best Director, but I am rooting for her, and it's definitely a possibility. She has a lot of support behind her, and even if she also doesn't win Best Director, she's up for Best Screenplay, and that's something I think it's a stacked category. You also have people like Jordan Peele, who's fantastic, a bunch of other great screenwriters who I think it's a great category that there are many people who deserve it, but I personally would love to see her take it there.
Yeah. So which category, I guess, are you most excited for this Sunday, or one that you're like, no matter what, I have to see?
There's a few, but I mean, Best Picture, because it's so up in the air right now that really, I know who I'm rooting for, but I know everyone I talk to has a different opinion on who they want, who they expect to win. So it's for the first time in a while that it's actually not set in stone, because most of the acting categories are pretty set in stone this year. So
Who are you rooting for?
Ooh, yes.
for Best Picture, I would love Call Me By Your Name, personally.
Ooh, there you go.
Great movie. Lady Bird also, Get Out is a great one. I think there's a bunch nominated that I really would be happy for. And in the acting categories, the ones who are pretty locked in, and I root for myself. I mean, Frances McDormand is fantastic in 3 Billboards. And if it wasn't her, I would root for Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird. You have so many of the good ones. Sam Rockwell also for 3 Billboards. A lot of the ones that are, considered locks right now, like Allison Janney, she's fantastic in I, Tanya.
I loved her in that,
Yeah, there's so many where I'm like, there's a reason they're a lock right now. They really were fantastic.
So is there any movie in 2018 you're super excited to come out this year, or excited to go see when it comes out?
Yeah, well, there's 2 coming out in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait for A Wrinkle in Time next week, which I know I'm not alone in that. It's that one.
100% or not.
So good. And also Love, Simon in a few weeks is really great coming of age story, about a teenager who is trying to figure out whether he should come out as gay or not. And it's really just so well done. It's based on a great YA book, and I saw it a few weeks ago, and it's just one of those that is incredibly affecting and just really well told. So I'm excited for everyone to see that.
Awesome.
All right, that's awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us, Rachel. We really
pleasure.
appreciate it. Please make sure to come back so that way we can break down who won, who
Yes.
should have won. Everything.
We'll know everything soon enough. So
There we go.
Great. Thank you so
Exactly.
much.
Thank you
Thanks
again.
for coming.
Now let's go to our Good Housekeeping segment. We have the lifestyle director at Good Housekeeping, Taryn Mohrman, here to give us some kitchen organizing tips just in time for spring cleaning, because I definitely need it.
Welcome, Taryn.
Hello.
Thanks so much for joining
Thanks for
us.
having me.
So before we jump in, can you give us a little bit of context of what you do for Hearst?
Sure. So for Good Housekeeping in particular, we work on all the home design stories, DIY content, which includes entertaining, and then, of course, organizing and cleaning, all of the things, sort of the bread and butter of Good Housekeeping. And we just try to, distill it down to easy, actionable tips for the everyday reader at home.
Awesome.
So before, we actually have a list here with some of the most common kitchen organizational problems. So if you don't mind, can we just go through this with you? So
Oh, I would love to.
All right, awesome. So we've all tried to stack bowls or cups in our kitchen shelves, but they usually just end up falling over. What do you suggest that we do in that case?
I think it's about looking at your shelf space first and figuring out, is it working hard enough for you? So one thing that people often forget to do is actually adjust the shelf. You usually have like little settings on the side that can move up and down. So take a look and look at what you're putting inside.
Oh, wow.
And think about, hey, like I have got, 4-inch bowls, maybe I should lower this shelf. And then if you run out of shelves, the go-to trick is to use a shelf riser. You can get wire ones, sometimes they make them solid, and they're perfect just for turning one shelf into 2 basically, and it lets you utilize that vertical space above, and you're maximizing your storage.
I will say, I only discovered like 2 years ago that I could change the height on my shelf.
Right?
I just realized that right now.
life-changing.
I did not know that you could do that.
You're gonna go home, you're gonna open all the doors,
really
you're gonna be like,
am.
what
I'm
can
gonna
I
be
do
like,
it here?
Where can I do this right now?
Yep.
That's wonderful. Please go ahead.
So speaking of shelving, really, really popular all over like Pinterest and Instagram is the open shelving look, which like I personally love and it looks amazing, but I think most of us actually feel a little intimidated by it because it can look really messy.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips on how to actually achieve that and make it
Sure.
Pinterest-worthy?
And I think you hit the nail on the head. This is one of those trends where everyone's like, open shelves, it looks gorgeous. And there's a lot of benefits. Having everything right in front of you gives you easy access to the things that you reach for constantly. So in the kitchen, that's your plates and your bowls and maybe your coffee mug. So it's definitely something that is useful as an organizational tool. And of course, we know it can be really attractive. So here's the key to make it work. work. You want to streamline the stack. So color coding, it's something that feels like, super organized-y, but this is a place to actually try that. So if you've got a stack of white bowls, put them together, then put your stack of colored plates or bowls next to it, and you're just streamlining so that visually your eye can sort of go from stack to stack, and it keeps them from looking like a jumbled mess. So it's just, I don't know, it's like one of those things where like color coding, you're like, oh my gosh, but then you try it there and it's a lot easier to do, and it makes a huge difference.
Wow, my girlfriend's gonna come home and see a completely different kitchen. So next we have the cram drawers. When you're trying to get a spatula, but you're pulling out like a tongue and a ladle,
Yeah.
it's just too much stuff in there. What should we do about that?
Yeah, you don't want to be hurling things across the kitchen while you're trying to reach for something to cook with. So look at your utensil drawer. Who wouldn't have a drawer divider in there? Like, we don't just like reach in for a pile of forks and knives, we separate it. But for some reason we stop there and we don't think to put that in the other drawers in the kitchen. So go for that drawer divider, try to pick one that's customizable so you can adjust it, and put it in the drawer where you have all of your other kitchen gadgets. It's a simple thing. It's a product you can buy anywhere, and it will really help you tame the clutter and reach for what you want when you're cooking.
I just want to say these are so simple. I've never thought of any of these before. Like, please, we're gonna keep going.
We got more. Let's keep going.
I just want to say thank you so much.
I'm so happy.
already, 'cause
Well,
it's
you'll have to
wonderful.
send me pictures because now I want to know what you do at home later and the space that's
Sure.
organized.
So another one of these sort of clutter tricks. So when you've got in a shelf, you've got multiple layers. How do you make sure that you don't lose things in the back of your shelf, or suddenly I've had it for food where I'm like digging through. I'm like, oh, I had no idea I had. Well, now a molding thing in the back here.
Yeah, or you come home from the grocery store and you just bought 5 things that you already have in your pantry, and you're like, great, we're going to be eating, couscous for 3 weeks. So the trick there is to really look to bins. So sometimes shelves are deep, and then that, by putting the contents of your shelf, whether it's in a pantry or under the sink storage, you're able to then reach what is in the back. It's also very helpful for those shelves that are all the way down low and all the way up high, so that you don't have to break out the stepladder. You can sort of like reach up, pull it down, and then peek at what's inside. So again, just creating easy access to what's on your shelf so that you can use it, use the shelf that is, and use what's on it.
I got one of those under the sink, like pull-out drawer things, and it totally changed my life for the same
Life-changing.
reason. It's like, oh, I can actually use what's in the back there.
Yeah, I mean, these are all simple tricks, and it's like once you address the clutter and you take steps to make change, your mind is just blown at how much easier things can be, and faster and quicker, and it all leads to efficiency, which is why I love organization.
What about when you have like a bottle or a jar, but everything around it is just kind of like tumbling over and you're reaching for it? What about that?
Like the spice cabinet or like the cleaning closet.
Yeah.
It's a problem throughout the house. And one thing that people don't often think of as an organizing tool is a rotating caddy, like what we usually call Lady Z's Susan. But now you can find them right in the organizing aisle, and because it lets you spin and select what you want without reaching in, hitting everything over on the way. So try it in those places, like try it with your cleaning sprays and tools, and then also inside your cabinet. There's no rule that says like you can't use that for your mugs or your cups. It's like wherever you think. I even like to use it in the refrigerator for your condiments. You can put them all on there, sort of spin, you get your hot sauce, your blue cheese, like whatever you need, and it lets you just better keep track of what you have.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
Awesome.
So speaking of other things that we have a hard time getting to, in a closet, I feel like so often the doors are here, but the actual like rest of your closet is in the corners. How can we make that more accessible and easier to actually see what you've got?
Well, see, you said that word, and it's like you can't organize or access what you can't see. So let's talk about lighting for a second. It's, you're lucky if your closet has a switch and a light, but we're not all that lucky. So you can take control, add a puck light, as they call them, something that is either LED, they make them so that you can pop them on, but they also make them motion censored. So they're battery operated. You don't need an electrician. Throw that anywhere. Throw it in, your under sink cabinet. Throw it in your dark pantry. Go around the house. Like you're going to buy a pack of 8, right? They're really affordable, and you're just going to start sticking them everywhere. And all of a sudden, you can see your stuff, and then you can keep it organized.
That's a great, wonderful idea. So we've all dealt with having like papers all over our home. So what should we do about those?
Papers. Well, not that I know what this is like. No, in all seriousness, like the kitchen, we're focusing there for this, spring organizing jumpstart tips, and there's papers everywhere because there's mail. Like it's usually the place where people drop stuff. It's the home hub. It gets everywhere, and you can't cook. You can't do anything. You can't sit at your table if there's papers everywhere. And I'm like laughing before because like this is still a problem in my house, even though I know the tip. So it's a work in progress. That's what everyone has to remember. But the trick is to put a decorative lidded box and create a drop spot, an inbox essentially. You have it on your desk. Well, you know what? If your papers aren't landing on their desk and they're landing on your kitchen counter, move your inbox. You have to address the problem there. And the beauty of that box is let it fill up. If company comes, throw the lid on top. It all of a sudden disappears so that nobody has to know that you're really behind opening your mail.
So good.
And then on the weekend, you can bring that box back to your desk and pay your bills and open mail and do what you need to do. You just have to stay disciplined. You have to make sure, like, when it gets full, you don't start putting things on top, but you actually take a minute and go through it. But I think for those of us that aspire to deal with things immediately but can't get to it, it's a great tip that can help keep you on track. And it looks pretty.
Now, I just want to ask you real quick. I'm going to ask you about a few other rooms in kind of like a rapid-fire succession.
Okay.
So, for the bathroom, say, for example, if you either like are just a messy person in general, or if you happen to share the bathroom with somebody, wink, wink, I'm looking at my girlfriend, what should we do in that case to be like, okay, this is a mess and I kind of got to clean this up?
Sure. Okay, the bathroom, I think the thing to remember in that room is that you can still have easy access to the things that you use daily, even, twice a day, but that doesn't mean that they have to be cluttering your counter. So think about using vertical space. We talked about open shelving before. It's great to sort of hang a couple of shelves because maybe your medicine cabinet really isn't deep enough. So a lot of the things we talked about in the kitchen, the bins under the sink, the shelf riser, even the light, like all of that can be applied in the bathroom. And I think in general, it's not typically a big room. So if you can work to clear that surface off and find homes for everything, then it's just right away going to feel a whole lot more organized.
Awesome. And what about our room specifically? So like, the bedroom, if you have a lot of papers there, or if it's like, all right, I got all the pillows over here, the dirty clothes over there. What about that case?
Oh, okay, which one do you want me to talk about first? Should we do the clothing?
Sure, let's go with the clothes first. Let's do that.
Okay, so the clothing, I feel like often it's about seeing what you have. This is definitely a common thread throughout organizing. So open up your closet, and if you have pants in one place and pants in another, and maybe even a third location, you have to streamline so that when you are looking in this one spot, you see all of your pants. And that's also, it's gonna help you wear what you have, but it's gonna also help you edit. And by edit, I mean donate, toss, just purge, because there's so many stats about we don't wear all of the clothes that we have. And when you compare down to the essentials, and that doesn't have to be so scary, it's really like what you need, you're gonna be able to maintain it and keep it organized. So just making sure you have a good view of what you have in your closet can just do so much to help you stay organized. Papers in the bedroom, should we tackle that?
Oh, sure, why not?
Discipline. You can't, like, a lot of rooms have garbages, but for some reason the bedroom doesn't often. Throw an inconspicuous can next to your bedside table. And that's just gonna help manage the tags and the little receipts and like the things you pull out of your pockets. We talk often about a little change collecting tray, but a garbage can really make it easier on cleaning day so that you're not going around like picking up all those little bits and bobs, and probably papers, because I don't know. Hopefully you don't have mail in your bedroom, but if you do, no judgment.
When you have a roommate and it's like, where else do you put this?
True.
I've got like stacks of things.
Okay, well then turn your bedside table into a little file box.
Oh, that's smart.
And like I feel like it's totally fine if you have to keep something in a non-traditional location, but you have to own it. You have to just decide like, this is where my files are gonna be, and then set it up so that it's functional and useful. And then you can keep it organized.
Awesome. Kara, do you have any other rooms that you think we should address, or are we?
No, I think we've covered the entire house. But I will say, do you have like, I know I love organizing, but I feel like I've learned a lot over time. What would be your one key thing that you wish you knew, like at age 20, to get you started on your journey of good organizing?
I do have a tip for this. Okay, so the thing when you are looking at clutter and messes, a lot of times people go right away to the fix. And that can include, spending time purging and maybe investing in some products or DIYing things. But the most effective thing is to think about the source and why repeat clutter is happening. So, like we were talking about earlier, if your mail ends up on your kitchen counter, like, that could be for a variety of reasons of how your house or, apartment is set up or whatever. But if that's what happens, you can do certain things to change it. It's sort of like a mix. It's like you want to make the fix, but then you also want to sort of like trace back to why it's happening. So maybe the reason the mail is coming into your kitchen is because there's nothing in the front of the house set up to collect it. So it's about finding the source, and sometimes it's like a 3-part situation. It's like, well, this happens because this happens and this happens. And if you only address one, the cycle is never going to be broken. It's got to get deep. Yeah. Organizing's deep.
Taryn, I feel like you just fixed my whole apartment. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, so happy to give you guys some good tips, and especially right before spring cleaning. So
most definitely. We really appreciate it. Thank you again for joining us, Taryn Mohrman. All right, so now we're going to go to our next segment, brought to you by one of our bold partners, Independent Women's Forum. Our regular guest, Julie Gunlock, couldn't make it today because of the crazy weather on the East Coast. We'll have her back next week.
In the meantime, we can discuss this week's headlines brought to you by IWF.
All right, so a huge headline this week, for better or worse, was Kim Kardashian's first selfie with her new baby, Chicago. Let's see that Instagram.
Actually, this is super cute. I mean, so I don't quite understand why there's a controversy about this. I mean, especially it's Kim Kardashian. Like, that is probably the tamest Kim Kardashian photo I have ever seen.
I 100% agree with you. Like, we've seen... kind of like what I had to say earlier, for better or worse, we've seen a lot of Kim Kardashian already over the internet. And with that being said, I feel like this is something that's like so many people already do this. Whenever somebody's excited about bringing a new person into this world, they're like, oh my goodness, here's the sonogram, or here's like the baby shower that we're gonna have, or the baby was just born, here they are. We see this all the time. It's not that big of a deal, right?
I know. I'm totally surprised that this is a thing. On the one hand, I get it. Like, our children are kind of overexposed, and I will say it can be a little tiring to scroll through my Facebook feed, and I'm like, oh, good, another daily shot of your kid. Yeah. Wonderful. I'm single and like don't have kids, so maybe I'm just bitter. But I think it's more just like, a lot
of my friends are now like getting dogs, having mortgages, proposing. I'm like, guys, like I think you're leaving the party at like 10 o'clock. Just give it a little bit more time. That's just me. It's okay.
But yeah, so I just don't quite understand all the fuss about it.
Yeah, it seems a bit like it's, I don't know, it's kind of confusing, especially with the way that social media has been integrated into our society today. It's like, say for example, when I was growing up, we didn't have Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. YouTube was just becoming a thing. But now I go and hang out with my little cousins, and they're like, check out this YouTube video. Oh, I'm on Twitter. Oh, I'm playing this game on my phone. I'm like, it's something that we're all just born with at this point in time. So it's kind of natural in a sense.
Well, I'll push back on you a little bit. I feel like it's a little bit of a different thing to have kids on social media like themselves versus like a photo with your baby. And I have a niece and a nephew who are like 10 and 12. And it kind of scares me, the idea of like my 10-year-old nephew is going around on, YouTube or these internet forums, which like on the one hand is like,
I had to block a few things on Twitter for my cousins.
Yeah. It's like, it's a little scary to think about like 10-year-olds can find whatever they want on the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be. So I do want to ask you, what did you think when Kim Kardashian first named the baby Chicago? There were a lot of people that were like, I don't know if that was the exact name, but we have people named Dakota, we have people named Denver, I mean, I'm just only saying Chicago a lot because I'm from Chicago, so happy to be from there. But what did you think when you first heard the name of Chicago West?
I mean, again, I feel like this is so tame for them.
Yes.
I mean, like North was weird. I just think that like the cardinal direction thing is just confusing.
I was kind of like North, like really I get the play on like Northwest. Yeah. So at the same time, I was like, I mean, okay, like North. I guess so.
I feel like places seem way more acceptable to me than
a direction.
Or like Apple, who's in like Gwyneth Paltrow's kid
I
is
could
like
see that. I'm definitely not naming my kid Orange or anything like that. Or even if I meet a kid named East, I'm gonna like Easton, cool. But just like no, just call me East. I don't think that's gonna work.
I don't know. Maybe I'm more traditional in that way. But I'm like, okay, let's maybe do like names that are names and not just like words.
Exactly. Like I'm just gonna pick something. But let's see. We have some of the best celeb kids here that we can just kind of go over with. So what do we have? What can we pull up right here? So my favorite, DJ Khaled and Assad. They actually just dropped this song "Top Off" earlier today. But Assad,
that's
he's
super
already
cute.
got like 3 million Instagram followers, and
Are you
he's
serious?
he just started. I've been following everything with Assad, and he just started walking like maybe a month or so ago. I'm like, guys, I'm trying to get to 1,200. Like, can we just slow down just a little bit? Like, help me out, shout me out, or something like that. What do you think of Assad
crazy.
so far?
Okay, so I'll 100% admit I don't follow.
It's okay.
I don't follow that many like children
I'm really into
celebrities
it,
on
just
Instagram,
DJ Khaled.
but
Yeah.
I mean that kid is actually super cute. I'll
Yes.
give him that. But it kind of worries me when you have things like the Jenners, who, I mean, what's her name? Kylie had millions of followers and she was like 13 or 14, like.
Yeah.
And she's said a lot over the years about the pressure that she has with being in the public eye
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of like the way that it messes with her sense of reality. And
Yeah.
so it definitely worries me for some of these kids. You know, it's like cute when he's 1 or 2, but as he starts getting older,
Yeah, once
if he
he
takes
starts-
over his own account, it's like,
Yeah, it's like you have to grow up with all that responsibility, and it's a huge responsibility at that point. I think we have another celeb that we might be able to show here. Neil Patrick Harris. Oh, that's so wonderful.
I will say the Halloween costumes are on point for
Yeah.
the Neil Patrick Harris family is
Definitely,
pretty impressive.
they always are something in which I'm looking forward to whenever Halloween comes around. Do we have any? I don't know if we have any more. If not, no, we're good to go on that one.
Just-
All right, so fast forward to 20 years from now. What do you think are some of the pros and cons of having your entire life documented online?
Oh man. Okay, so I keep saying these things like I'm a total Luddite who doesn't use social media. I'm more of like I participate in watching social media rather than like posting myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of feel like it's just sort of this strange interaction of like documenting yourself
Yeah.
that it's just I think it's just something I can't even fathom having done this since I was a little kid. Like maybe they'll just be so desensitized from it. Because right now I feel a little bit like as an adult, I'm like filtering and I choose what I'm putting out there versus you hear about teenagers who've been using Snapchat from, you know, basically the day they
Forever.
started walking.
Yeah.
And it's like they just are not even fazed by it. So I wonder if there's just a completely different concept of how they interact with the way that the public sees them.
Yeah. No, I
do you
wonder the
think?
same. I wonder the same things too sometimes because I see myself like picking and choosing what things I do want to put out there and what things I do not want to put out there. And at the same time, I'm like, you know what? At some point, I know when I do have children, they're gonna be like, oh, I want to go see what dad's Instagram was like or what dad's Twitter was like, and I need to make sure that they know, hey, your dad was a cool person back in the day. You know, your dad had it going on. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see like what happens 20 years from now when we get to see like kind of the experiment in a way of people having just grown up with it and having it their whole life. I want to see what Assad is going to be like when he's 15 years old and he's got like 40 million followers. Like what kind of kid is he going to be? You know?
I know. I'm curious to see how we're gonna feel about it when another 15 years. If I'm gonna be like, oh, those children.
True,
like, oh.
true. We could be well over it. So before we slide into the next segment, we do have a comment from Zach Merrill who says, can we talk about how Chicago pizza is actually just lasagna? No, we cannot because it is great and it is not just lasagna. You can take your opinion elsewhere. Thank you very much, Zach. We appreciate you chiming in. So our next segment is our weekly Bold Women segment. Let's welcome artist, author, and journalist Camilla Webster on Skype. Hi, Camilla.
Do we have Camilla? Can we
I
hear?
think we're going to check and see. Oh, hold on
Oh,
one second.
one-
Oh, we're going to get there momentarily. We're figuring it out. So, in case you guys don't know, we're just kind of, the weather out here on the East Coast has been crazy this morning. It was like a slush,
Yeah, it was really
rain,
bad.
snow type of thing. It was crazy. Oh, she's here?
Okay, I
we do
think
have
we
her now?
got her. Camilla,
We have
can
her.
we?
Hi, Camilla, are you there? Hey, how you doing,
Hey.
Camilla? Good to see you.
Great to have you on the show. So, Camilla, you're a friend of Francesca Lena, who has recommended you as our Bold Woman of the Week. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here, but I hear you two are great friends. How did you guys meet and get to know each other?
You know, we were introduced through our friend, the wealth management expert and family office owner, Carol Pepper. I invited both of these ladies to join me at the Women Influence Forum at the Ritz in Paris earlier this year. It was one of the first times I had the opportunity to meet with Francesca in person and see what a big heart she has and how much she cares about bold women and leading a bold life. So I'm thrilled to be here with you guys today in very warm climates in South Florida and the Florida Keys.
We're just a little bit jealous.
Yeah,
Just a little.
just a tad bit. It's only not raining/snowing that hard up here. It's okay.
I thought we had finally crossed the line into like maybe almost getting warmer, and now we totally
just
regressed.
pulled us right back in.
So we've seen that you had this great TED Talk about your art. And so maybe could you tell us a little bit more about how you got into art and painting? And that was kind of a big career shift for you. So I'd love to hear how you really got to doing something so different from what you were doing before.
Yes, well, for about 20 years, the public knew me as an international journalist, a television commentator. I was a painter since I was about 5 years old. And I think where these things really knit together is I'm a storyteller. I've been a storyteller. I'm the daughter of an early time in life editor, and I tell stories through my paintings. And here you're showing the Flower Power series. I had a choice last year. Many people wanted me to consider covering Syria or covering the election year or the new presidency. And I decided that what people needed most on both sides of the aisle was a reinforcement of positivity, particularly women. I watched the Women's March and I decided I wanted to paint a Flower Power series. A little bit of a throwback to using our voice in the 60s, but looking at who we are today. So these paintings have different powers. The power of courage is one of my favorites. And this really is all American. The power of courage is a painting with sunflowers. The sunflower traditionally was actually a symbol of courage. Native Americans often bought the sunflowers seeds into battle with them. And I really looked at, how do we really represent women through this time of shift and change, from working in and out of the house, from opportunities to travel, opportunities to be entrepreneurs, and it all takes courage. So this was a central theme for me this year.
So speaking of representing women, and thank you so much for that. Speaking of representing women, March is Women's History Month, and you're doing a series of paintings for Thrive Global, which is in association with Arianna Huffington, or is it Arianna Huffington Startup? Can you tell us just a little bit about that and give us some more context to it?
Yes, so I had originally met Arianna Huffington when I was the anchor for Forbes, and as a bold woman, she's led many different chapters in her life. She also has written an important book on Picasso, started the Huffington Post, and now she started Thrive Global. And I reached out to her and said, I've done this series of paintings on women, and would you feature them? And she said, I would love to partner with you. So we agreed that starting in the next week, you will see one of the Flower Power paintings. That was The Power of Envy, you just saw just there. And this will be going on all month on thriveglobal.com. And I'm very excited to be a part of the collaboration with their site, which focuses on well-being, prosperity of the self, and really grounds us in not just being rich and successful, but being rich in life, being rich in values.
Well, speaking of collaborations, I've heard that your next collaboration is with interior designer Elizabeth Gia. What is it like working with an interior designer versus just doing your art for yourself or for other kind of venues?
Thank you. Well, one of the reasons I'm really excited to be in Florida is in April 14th. We're going to be doing a collaboration. It will be on show at the Deering Estate in Miami. Elizabeth is a respected interior designer here, and her work is also in homes in New York and DC. And we've been given the Grand Salon. She will be designing the Grand Salon at the Deering Estate. The home was owned by John Deering, the major agricultural company. And I said to her, I would love to be inspired by the natural materials at the Deering Estate on the water. Behind me is one of the paintings. It's in a blush color, which is one of the popular colors of this upcoming design season, but it's also a little bit reflective of the beautiful stone you see in traditional and historic homes in Miami. So for this project, I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I wanted to actually reinforce the natural stone and design that Miami is famous for, and almost have an ode to John Deering's own vision for the house. This is one of my meditation paintings. It's from the Inhale Meditation series. It will soon be getting a final glaze, and when that glaze is put on the painting, you're going to be able to experience actually being going into the painting, and again, focus on well-being, take that time to pause, and it will be on exhibit in Elizabeth Gia's Grand Salon at the Deering Estate for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks in April.
That sounds awesome. I'm going to have to get out there to see that. So before I get into my next question for you, Anna Eileen says she loves this, and you're such a Renaissance woman. And Cheyenne Reed also says that Camilla is a boss, so we just want to let you know that. So I do want to ask, who are some of your inspirations in terms of being an artist and putting your own paintings out there? Who are people that you look to say, you know what, I really like their work, and in a sense it inspires you to do more of your own?
You know, to be quite honest, one of the biggest inspirations in my life has always been Oprah Winfrey, because she's been a broadcaster, an artist, and an actor. She's a great artist in everything that she does. I've often looked to her example in life and how to be a better person and to overcome really unexpected circumstances when they've arisen. In terms of other painters, I do have to say that I religiously follow the Instagram of Donald Robertson. He's a wonderful artist with 2 lovely children who he integrates into his Instagram, and a fantastic creative director, and I think he is a true living artist. I also love the work of David Hockney. And when I'm feeling a little rebellious, I really love the work of Tracy Emin. She is a contemporary British artist and also a writer. And I think that all of these artists have really shown us that it's not just painting. You don't have to be just a painter or just a television anchor or just a journalist. You have to be you. Use the talents that you are given in life to the best of your ability, and share life through your lens to make the world a better and more interesting place, and invite people into your community.
That's so beautiful. So one last question. Do you have any advice on how to be a bold woman? We've had one comment that was from Francesca, actually. She said, you're so wonderful and beautiful and a real bold woman. So what advice do you have for the rest of us who are just trying to be a little bit of what you've got?
Thank you. I have been told no. I have been told you can't so many times. And it's often by very powerful people. Years ago, when I was a producer, I said that I wanted to also be a television host. And I also wanted to be able to edit. And the bosses at the network said that I had to choose one thing. But I saw the revolution in media coming. I was told I couldn't transition from journalist to artist, and to do those together. But I'm doing that. Really understand who you are. Know that if big people start saying no to you, you're on the right path. But be brave, be courageous, be respectful. They don't see what you see yet. So keep to your truth, keep being respectful, keep working hard, and be bold.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right, well, Camilla, thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. We definitely need you to come back on relatively soon, so that way we can talk some more about some of the things that you have coming up. Thank you so much again.
Thank you for having me. Stay warm, guys.
We'll try our
Trying.
best. Thank you. So our next segment is our Bookster segment. Bookster is a website for book lovers and much, much more.
Today we have John Leland with us. He's the author of Happiness is a Choice. The book is a collection of lessons John learned about happiness after interviewing 6 New Yorkers, all over the age of 85. Welcome, John.
Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
Thanks for
So,
coming.
John, I'm excited to hear about what you have to say about this. Can you tell us a little bit before we get into it, just the process of the book?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a New York Times reporter, and I spent a year following 6 people over the age of 85. I'd looked at the census data, and they were like one of the fastest growing age groups in the country. They were less than 1 million when I was born. Now there's more than, or almost 6 million in this country. So it's like, imagine if there were suddenly 6 times as many teenagers. And I went out and I thought, that's strong, right?
That's a lot.
So I thought it was going to be really dark stuff about how people were struggling and they were losing their vision and spouses and everything. And there was that. But it was turned out to be such a joyous experience, and I learned so much about resilience and getting by. And what I learned was all these lessons that I could apply to my life, to my son's life, to the lives of all the people around me.
So can you tell us a little bit about who were these people that you interviewed, and kind of like what situations were they in? Were they all, relatively mobile and able to do their own things, or were they, in more difficult circumstances?
The 6 were all great, and they were all different. I didn't want to get 6 people who are 92 and jumping out of airplanes. Those people exist, and they're really inspiring, but they don't give you anything that you can go by for your own life. Mm-hmm. So I have people in a nursing home, people in, who are doing pretty well in life. There was an artist who's still making movies. They're gay and straight. They're black, white, and Asian. There's a retired civil servant, and there's a guy who never settled down, and there's a woman who never dated after losing her husband of 50 years. So it's everybody in every kind of situation.
So real quick, what was your favorite moment from meeting with these people?
Oh my gosh, almost every time I spent with 2 people. I said, there's a man, Fred Jones. Fred was losing parts of 2 toes to gangrene. And every time I saw him, I would get so happy. And Fred said to me, he says, how do you define happiness? And I gave him my answer. And Fred says, nope, happiness is what's happening now. If you're not happy now, you're not happy.
Oh, shout out to
It's not when you get to the dance or you get that new fur coat. You have to be happy right now. And all these times we hear people say, live in the moment. I got to actually see it being done in its raw form, and it was so inspiring.
That's incredible. Do you have a second favorite, if you don't mind?
Second favorite? Yeah, there was a Jonas Mekas. Jonas Mekas is a sort of important avant-garde filmmaker. Mm-hmm. And Jonas, every time I saw him, there was wisdom he passed along. And I said, Jonas, he is a Holocaust survivor. He survived the Nazi work camps, not death camps, but work camps. Yeah. And his latest movie is called Outtakes from the Life of a Happy Man. I said, Jonas, why are you happy? And he said, it's normal. It's not normal not to sing, not to dance, not to cultivate poetry and saints. I am a very, very normal case. And happiness is a normal state. So I just thought that, happiness is a normal state. And that's true for these people that are 95, and true for me at 58, and true for my son at 29, and true for his friends at whatever age they are.
So speaking of your son, what was his, did he have a moment of a real aha moment or some kind of big takeaway from all of this?
I think he's enjoyed it, but he's getting by in his own life. The one thing I learned is that people who are in their 20s are often, we think about people in their 80s as being dour and depressed or dour and depressed, and some are, but people that are in their 20s are tripled up in tiny apartments, and they're trying to get by, and they can't pay the rent. And the older people are I've been in my apartment for 40 years, and my rent is $6 a month. And
must be nice.
So, my goodness.
Yeah.
So, what has been the reception that you've gotten from the readers so far, and how have they taken the book from getting it?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that, because I'm here with the secret agenda, which is that I want your viewers to send me stories about the amazing elders in their lives.
Okay.
They can go on my website, which is happinessisthechoiceyouMake.com, and there's a contact me button on it, and tell me the stories, because I've been going out, and it's just been, everybody I meet tells me a great story about that aunt in their life, or that grandfather, or about themselves. And they're not those people that are jumping out of airplanes or running marathons at 102. Mm-hmm. They're just ordinary people who have a perspective that it's harder for us at my age or your age to have.
So do you have any advice for others who might be interested in gathering stories or becoming an aspiring writer?
Well, I'll tell another story about Jonas Mekas. Last year, a magazine asked him, if you could give any advice to someone who wanted to be a filmmaker, what would it be? And Jonas' advice was, get a camera. And so that's my advice. If people want to write, people want to meet people, get out there and meet people and just write.
Mm-hmm. And are you planning on writing another book anytime soon? Please say yes.
I hope so.
Okay.
I've learned so much doing this, and it's really just, I've been a reporter for more than 30 years, and nothing has changed my life the way this did.
Now, I do want to ask, because you brought that up, what do you think was different from writing this book, or the process of writing this book, and the difference between that and your normal work as a reporter for the Times? Was there anything that was in contrast that you were like, this is an interesting thing to see?
It's really different, and it was a little scary for me because it was different. The stories I write and the stories I wrote for this series were about trying to imagine what being 85 looks like from the perspective of someone who's living it. Mm-hmm. And then the book is really about the lessons I learned from these people about how to live your life, whatever age you are. And so it puts me into the book, it puts my mother in the book. I'm getting divorced during this process, and so it puts my divorce in the book. And I'm not used to exposing myself like that. I'm a shy flower. Mm-hmm. But, I put myself out there and take my licks.
Well, we're glad that you're able to come on and share your story with us. And please make sure everybody check out happinessisachoiceyouMake.com, correct?
Yes.
So that way you can share stories that you have with the elders in your life. So that way we can make sure that John gets another version of this book as well. We're going to need some more of these after you get these stories, John.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I love talking about this stuff.
No problem
Awesome.
at
Well,
all.
thank you so much for being here.
Yes, most definitely. So, and guys, that is the end of today's show. Thank you so much for being here. If you like it, spread the word and share it with your friends. Make sure to like Bold TV on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
So we're out of here for today, but for more Bold TV, join us on Facebook and Periscope on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. for our business show and Fridays at 10 a.m. for our politics show.
Thank you so much, guys, and have a great weekend.